Oh, pretzels, I unmuted the mic before I remembered to switch the light on. Well, okay, the light's on now. Hi, everybody. Welcome in. Thank you so much for being here. If you are Ernesto, hello, hello. Welcome in. Turnip, hello. Thank you very much for the lurk. Hi, friends. And what is up, gamers? Hi, everybody. Welcome in. It's a stream. And this is a goblin on what will eventually be the Goblin. That is to say, the Gospel Oak to Barking line of the London Underground. Which, the Suffragette line is a perfectly delightful name, I'm sure. And, you know, I think there are a lot of really good reasons why the London Underground rebranded the various branches of it to be more clear as to what bits of the Underground are what. For clarity purposes, I think that's fantastic. I think the names they came up with are fine. But the Gospel Oak to Barking line was already known colloquially as the Goblin, and I really wish that they'd retained that. I hope people are still calling it the Goblin. This is the Goblin riding the Goblin. It's very important that you know this. This is actually a D&D character of mine. Their name is Unner, and they are a goblin blacksmith sorcerer. I don't know what they're doing in London. Traveling between Gospel Oak and Barking, I guess. But, so yeah, that's a sketch. But we're not working on that right now. We are gonna hopefully, perhaps, finish this little number? Who knows? I don't know. Anyways, how are you doing? It's lovely to see y'all, and welcome on in. I hope you are well. It is, as of press time, Easter Thursday here, and I have been baking this morning/afternoon. I did wait until the groceries. Well, there go my okay, this increasingly precariously teetering pile of stuff has just fallen over again. I think I need to engineer a new solution for storing these things, because they just keep falling over. But anyways, yes, my supermarket order came in around midday, and so after my supermarket order came in around midday, I decided to do a little bit of Easter baking, and so I baked myself a beautiful loaf of Hungarian Easter bread, and I say beautiful in big quotes because I don't want to show anyone what it looks like, because I tried a new flour formulation this time, because if you don't know, I used to be able to eat gluten, and now I can't eat gluten. Did I say hello, bees? Hello, bees, welcome in. And hello, Freddie, as well. Welcome in. I hope you are well. Hope you're having the loveliest of lovely Thursdays. How are you doing? And hi. Anywho, so, yeah, I have found myself in a situation where my body will not digest wheat properly. I don't know if it's entirely like all gluten. I don't know if it's just wheat. I don't know. I seem to be okay with rye, but I also don't know if there's like any latent effects of eating rye bread that like are not acutely obvious enough that I can definitely point to I have to stop eating rye as well. Because I have been having like rye toast and stuff and surviving, but maybe I shouldn't do that. I truly haven't the foggiest at this point what the right course of action is with all this jazz. It sucks. It sucks, especially for someone who loves to do baking. It like especially sucks. And I do love to do baking. I've been baking Hungarian Easter bread for years. It is as close as I can get to my grandmother's recipe. Though with a few liberties, largely for scale, on account of we are a household of 2 people, and we there's only so much bread that we can eat, and the answer to how much bread we can eat is too much. So I have to try and temper this by not over baking for just the 2 of us, because we will eat all of the bread and we will regret it. So I've been adjusting my raft of recipes, and some of them, honestly, like, so good as gluten-free. My brownie recipe, I've adapted a gluten-free version, and it is sublime. It is also really, really easy to adapt. I think I just, with any gluten-free recipe, I find that it's worth it to cut the flour quantity down by about 10%. And so I've done that, and they're gorgeous. They are absolutely stunning. The brownies are delicious, and all I did was swap out regular flour for gluten-free flour and add a little bit of xanthan gum, and that's it. Nice and easy. I would simply perish if I couldn't eat gluten, says Bees. Having the measure flour for baking is such a gift. I have the commercially available, like, gluten-free plain flour blends that we have here in the UK. I have mild beef with them, in as much as I think that they are very good for certain applications and honestly kind of crap for a lot of other applications. Like, I used them a few times to make my famous pumpkin muffin recipe, and found that I could only eat those muffins warm. As soon as they went, like, room temperature, you could feel, like, the grittiness coming from the rice flour. And part of the problem here is rice flour, because standard white rice flour is not milled finely enough to not be kind of gritty. And that's unpleasant. Yay! But that effect goes away if you serve it warm. So if you're serving it warm, it's fine. But in general, not a fan of that texture. So I went out and purchased a big ass bag of super fine white rice flour, and I've done a bespoke blend for this bread based on the ingredients that I had at home. So I used a blend of super fine white rice flour, brown rice flour, and potato starch. To this, I added additional brown rice protein to give it more structure, because gluten's a protein, so structure. And then to that, I also added xanthan gum, psyllium husk, and hydroxypropylmethylcellulose in quantities I was basically guessing at. Because weirdly, the companies that commercially make gluten-free bread don't really want to give out their recipes. But these are things that you see a lot in gluten-free bread recipes, again, to give it a little bit more extensibility, a little bit more stability, to help things bind better, and improve the texture. So I'm trying. But my past experience of attempting to do, like, yeasted breads with gluten-free flours has yielded results that are more similar to what I would say is, like, texturally, like, scone territory, soda bread territory, but with that nice yeasty flavor. So it's kind of like a best of both worlds, or that kind of thing. And so, you know, if this is like a lemony scone bread with raisins in it, fantastic. But it's not the texture that I dream of my grandmother's goulash. You know what I mean? It's just, life is really hard, and I feel sad, and as someone who is, like, a very experienced baker, and when I say a very experienced baker, I mean I've written 2 cookbooks, and now I feel like I need to rewrite all of the recipes in my cookbooks and republish them in their best gluten-free forms. Speaking of which, if you want to make my pumpkin muffins gluten-free, I wholeheartedly recommend just reduce the amount of flour by 10%, and replace it entirely with whole oat flour, which is genuinely incredibly delicious. Makes an amazing muffin. I'm so happy with the way that those muffins turned out. But oat flour doesn't work for everything. Oat flour is not going to be the right texture for my Easter bread, you know what I mean? I really miss, like, I love baking breads and, like, cinnamon rolls and that kind of thing, and it's just such an uphill battle to get the right texture at home, and it just makes me feel sad. Anyways. Bees says, I'm approaching as a non-gluten-free person with a gluten-free person in my life. I am baking gluten-free oatmeal blueberry cookies for Easter. I hope she likes them. Ooh, I bet. That sounds delicious. Um, that's delightful. Also, oats, just peak. Chef's kiss. Love it. Bread is a whole other monster to tackle. I don't even make bread with gluten very well, says Bees. Aw, I like bread is fun. I didn't bake a lot of bread because partially because homemade bread is so delicious and it takes so long to make. It's like this took 2 days to produce. And we can easily eat the entire thing within 30 minutes. It's just like just why? Why would I do that to myself? Medusa says collage mentioned. Sorry, a Kool-Aid Man jumped in with that. No, that is an entirely appropriate thing to Kool-Aid Man jump in with. Also, hi, welcome in. So it is to my great shame. It is to my great shame that I am going to share with you a photo. If I can get my Photos app to un-F itself. What are you doing, Photos app? Okay, I'm gonna, to my great shame, I'm gonna share a photo of my oh no, it's, oh jeez, hold, I need to rotate it so that it's not, okay. Okay, I just needed to rotate it. There she is. She's looking a little bit anemic, in the camera as well, but like, y'all, it's so sad. I swear, my breads used to be beautiful. And, like, it got a little bit of rise, but it still didn't get as much rise as it's supposed to. And I just feel, sorry for the flash, it just looks so sad. And I don't know what else I can do about it. I've used all of the weird hints and recipes and funky ingredients that I had to order online to get, and it looks like this. It looks like, and you know, the thing is, if this was intended to be like a scone, or if this was soda bread, it'd be like, wow, you braided your soda bread? That's impressive. This is just regular yeast bread. And you can see there's raisins in it. And there's lemon zest in it, and it's eggy and buttery, and it's going to be so delicious, but I could not get the damn thing to not look like absolute butt. And it makes me feel like a failure as a baker, even though I know that's not true, because I'm a good enough baker that I've written 2 cookbooks. And I'm very proud of them. And I still have a lot of fun doing baking. But oh my god. Some of these recipes are testing me. Anyways, I will check in on the Discord and let you know how it tastes at least. So if you're in the Discord, you can find that out. I'll probably mention it on stream next week as well. But yeah. Bee says, I made homemade cinnamon rolls from scratch once. It wasn't that much better than the little pop-up and canned cinnamon rolls. Oh, bless. My grandma used to get those. So there's my grandmother on my mother's side, and then there's my grandma on my dad's side. My grandma on my dad's side used to get the Pillsbury cinnamon rolls, and I was way too fond as a child of eating that dough raw. Gave myself some tummy aches by just squirreling away like half a cinnamon bun's worth of dough while we were making them, and just eating it. Terrible decisions, but delicious. Don't you do that. It's very bad for your tum-tum. Anyways, I'm a terrible baker. Everything's a celebration, says Medusa. Hell yeah. Bea says, you're not a failure as a baker. You're still trying to work out the recipe. You're still investigating. Yeah, it just requires more R&D. And I know it just requires more R&D, but the problem is, I live in a household of 2 people with limited funds and limited tummy capacity, and this is a special baked good that I only make once a year. So I have 1 chance per year to perfect the recipe. Anyways, so that's the 1 loaf that I produced. I think, based on the texture of the dough, I feel like it's gonna be hopefully tasty. I do not know how to get it to actually do what I want it to do. But it's fine. I'm still figuring it out. I might attempt another loaf before the weekend is out with a few tweaks. I was wondering, because I didn't pre-bloom the psyllium husk, and I wonder if I should have pre-bloomed the psyllium husk so it has a chance to form that sort of stretchy network of goopy psylliumness that also gives you additional structure and extensibility. I just threw it in with the flowers, and maybe I shouldn't have done that. I don't know. Everything is a challenge. But what I will say is that pumpkin muffins with oat flour, absolutely delicious. I'm going to be trying my banana bread recipe with oat flour fairly soon because I've been having a hankering for banana bread. And I will be making something for my husband's birthday, which is at the end of this month. Happy Autism Month, by the way. I don't know yet what I will be making for my husband's birthday because he hasn't told me what he wants yet. So that's a resounding I don't know. I just realized that I did not clean down my palette from the last time I used it, which was very remiss of me. How untidy. So I've done that now. All right. What if you made a video on it, says Rex? Then you'd have to make a bunch of it for filming. Oh, I don't even make a bunch of it when I film. I just make like one. And hope that it turns out. I do have a video in the works where I am going to be attempting a yeasted bread recipe for the first time. Not the first time I've ever made yeasted bread, but this specific recipe. Also, hi Rex, welcome in. It's lovely to see you. Hello, hello, hello. Also, Q2's hello, hello, hello. Hi! Welcome, I hope you're well. B says, if my husband ever asked me to bake anything besides chocolate chip cookies, I would check to make sure he didn't get body snatched. Ooh, I do love a chocolate chip cookie. I do. I haven't, that's something that I haven't played around with too much, is like cookie dough recipes. That's an interesting, interesting. I think I could go some interesting directions with cookie dough recipes. Because you could go in like an even, if you want like a really chewy cookie, you could go in the direction of using some like glutinous rice flour, which will give you an even like a chewy cookie. I'm kind of into that. That could be a vibe. Anyways, a 3-stream steak from Rex. Hell yeah. Yeasted bread to make steak sandwiches. Yum, yum, yum. Love that for you. What kind of steak sandwich? Are you gonna have like, is there gonna be a condiment, a sauce, other toppings, a cheesesteak situation? Do tell. B says, I didn't notice a difference with the gluten-free oatmeal blueberry except for and regular, except the gluten-free ones that started getting pretty dry and crumbly after a couple of days. Yeah, I think that's pretty normal. There is a tendency towards crumbliness with the gluten-free baked goods. I definitely feel that. There are certain things that I think just naturally do it better than others. There is a recipe that I've been making for about a gazillion years, which is a jam thumbprint cookie, and it adapts itself super easily to being gluten-free. It's not made with standard wheat flour at the outset. I would usually use whole spelt flour or dark rye flour for it. So this year I just swapped out with buckwheat flour, and they remain absolutely and utterly amazeballs. One of my favorite baked goods. They are delightful. I also have some fine polenta, and I'm hoping to see if I can use that as a substitute for semolina in a biscuit that I've made before. That's like a little like North African style sort of tea cookie. That's made with, when I've done it before, I used a blend of ground almonds and semolina, but if I use ground almonds and polenta, and they're lemony, so there's like lemon zest in there, and then they're rolled in powdered sugar, and they're lovely little nuggets of lemony delight. If I make those again, I'm gonna try it with fine polenta, and I think they'll be fine. I think it'll be good. Anyways, bread and steak, that is certainly that's certainly a sandwich. I hope you enjoy it. I'm just picturing, like, just a whole ass steak just plonked between two slices of, like, standard, like, farmhouse white bread. Just, like, the sliced white bread with just, like, a thick steak in between. I cannot imagine anything that I would be able to eat less. Unless there was a mushroom in it. Anyways. But yeah, anyway, so that's been my day so far, has been a bread baking ordeal. The actual making of the bread was really, really fun, and I just feel so sad that it looks so ugly. Ah! Oh well. Anyways. A pretty unappetizing looking sandwich. But it's what I pictured, says Rex. I mean, hey, listen, if that's the food that you would enjoy, then fine. I used to have a colleague in an old day job back in Canada who, no matter what restaurant we went to, she would order a plain grilled chicken breast on a white bread roll. That was her food of choice at every restaurant we went to. Indian restaurant. Unseasoned grilled chicken breast on a white bread roll, please. Greek restaurant. Unseasoned chicken breast on a white bread roll, please. Italian restaurant. You'll never guess. Unseasoned chicken breast grilled on a white bread roll. And she was a happy camper every single time. So, you know, some people have a very specific range of foods that they enjoy. And that is extremely valid of them. I have a very wide range of foods that I enjoy, and I hope that one of them will be this very interesting looking loaf of Hungarian Easter bread. When in doubt, every restaurant has chicken tenders, says Rex. Yes, exactly, yes. I do appreciate that there's always the chicken tender option on the menu for, you know, the one person in the party who has a very restrictive range of foods that, you know, they can eat comfortably. Because some people do have a very restricted range of foods that they can eat comfortably, and chicken tendies, hey, why not? I went to a Japanese restaurant, I think last spring. And it wasn't like a sushi type Japanese restaurant. It was like a ramen type Japanese restaurant. So, yeah, my choices were very limited. Especially as someone who also doesn't eat meat, because technically I probably could have had the, like, chashu pork donburi, because that was just, you know, like grilled pork and some veggies and whatever on a bed of steamed rice. That would have been fine. But the vegetable version of the donburi was vegetable tempura. And guess what that's made with? Oh yeah, wheat flour batter. Yippee skippy. Trike42, thank you very much for the follow. Welcome in. Thank you. I hope you're having a lovely Thursday. What else? So yeah, I ended up... So, at that restaurant, the list of things that were edible to me was so small that I ended up ordering a side order of unseasoned plain steamed rice, a side order of kimchi, and one of the starters that was like a little marinated cucumber salad with you know, rice vinegar and a little sprinkle of shichimi on top. And it was delicious. I just had kimchi cucumber rice. But that was very much a cobble together of side dishes because that's all I can... Life is so hard. Anyways, yes, hello, Trike. Sorry for my incessant complainants of foods and stuff. I need to look up what this word is again. So that I can actually paint it properly, because otherwise I'm gonna not be able to. Because I looked up the Danish word for art supplies. Let me just pop this back to Danish. Because I decided I wanted this to be an art supplies shop. And to that end, I've got a little window display. It's really hard to see that there's anything in this window display. Oh, by the way, I don't know if we've established that these two are dating, but just for the absolute avoidance of doubt here, they are in fact married. But they are on a date. So, I don't know. Jot that down. There's some art supplies in the window here, and I wanted to paint them in. So, where's my pastel bins? My stack is trying to... Why is my stack so adamant on falling over today? I don't know. Maybe that's just the way I'm feeling in my heart, falling over. And it's just a reflection of that. So I just dropped some paints. But it's okay. These paints weren't really in any order to begin with, so, like, doesn't matter. Okay. Alright. Everything's fine. I think I fixed it, so we're good. But this is the Derwent Pastel Shades paint pan set. And also this random little pan that is full of... I think this is Violet Fantasy from Daniel Smith Paints. I don't know why it's in here. It just lives here for some reason. This is one of his duochrome paints, by the way. Duochrome is so fun to work with. I love a duochrome paint situation. It's very fun, and the color of it changes depending on how you're looking at it, but also it depends on what color you're painting it on top of. If you're painting it on top of white, this is going to be kind of a silvery shimmer. If you paint this on top of black, it's like, boom, purple, but also very shimmery. So they're very fun to work with. I don't have any black paper for painting these on top of, unfortunately. But I can always put down, like, you know, some black there. I can put down some black ink and then paint duochromes on top of that for fun effect. Anywho, I'm gonna try and make up a brownish color for the little easels that I've got. I've got a couple canvases sitting in this art supplies shop. So I thought it would be cute to put some art or something onto them. But I mean, these are teeny tiny little paintings. What the heck am I gonna do with that? I don't know. I just don't know. But I can at the very least have... Okay, now we've established that these little canvases are sitting on an easel. And I think I might just have in the middle of here, I don't know, maybe just some little, like... Just some little potos of paint. And so I might just color them in different colors because they're different colors of paint. That might be cute. I don't know. Still want it to be not too overly in your face compared to sort of the four of the foreground. So if I can keep these relatively subtle, then that's probably for the best. I'm about to sneeze, so if you'll excuse me for just one moment. Oh, my sweet lord. Wow. Okay, that was a sneezy. Also, oh, I just realized I've got the wrong... Hold up. That's better. I mean, it's not the other PNG tuber is fine. But I've been using this one for the last few weeks. And it is my newest one. So I do like using it. So here it is. But yeah. Anyways, I'm gonna take a sip of one of my teas. I think this is pineapple and mint. I think. That's pineapple and mint. Yum, yum, yum. Delicious. I've got that, and then I just have, I guess what would best be described as mint and mint? I guess. Oh man, I'm running out of corners on this tissue for blotting up bits of paint color. Okay. Maybe let's just have one be like, seems like greenish. Doot doot. I think I might need to go to the other room and get another tissue for blottage. I've just noticed there's a big water droplet on my brushy, so let's get rid of that. And let's make this one on the top sort of like purpley. Okay, wizard. Done. Easy. Should I put something on those canvases, or are they just advertising the fact that they have canvases? I don't know. I haven't decided. Maybe, you know what? Maybe I'll come back to that. I'll come back to it. In the meantime, I think let's look at doing some line gubbins here on like our windows. And I really want these lines to be on like the backdrop stuff to not overshadow our little guys in the foreground. So I'm going to try and make them as representative but not overly dark, just a little bit of added weight without overpowering anything. At least that's the theory, that's the thinking. We'll see how we get on with it. What was I going to say? What was I going to say today? I had a few things to say. Oh, you know, okay. So here's something that I was thinking. This is such a stupid thing to be thinking about, but here's something I was thinking about earlier, and that thing was how do you deal in a situation where you're like having a conversation with someone and they say something that like you really don't agree with, but you also really don't want to get into it, you know, and you don't want to descend into the land of, okay, here's why I disagree with you, and it's gonna bother me if I don't say it. Because sometimes the best path is just like realizing that like this isn't actually something that I want to get into a conversation about at length right now. You know, maybe with this, you know, you're just making small talk with somebody. Like, it's not necessarily the time that you want to leap into you know, a heavy conversation about like, okay, now here's why you're incorrect, right? So what do you do? What do you do when you come upon an opinion that you're just like, ooh, I don't want to just smile and nod and have you thinking that like I implicitly agree with you, because I don't, but I also don't want to, I just don't want to get into it right now. You know, maybe for like diplomatic reasons, you're just like, you know, sometimes it's better to just not, and sometimes you're just not in the mood, and sometimes, to be honest, you're gonna need to have sources to cite if you're gonna make a complete argument here. Happy Autism Month, by the way. So sometimes it's worth just not doing that, and what I've been experimenting with is, I hear you. It's just like, okay, I hear you. You know, it's like, yep, that's not an agreement. That is just an, I see that you've given your perspective, and I hear that. Or even just, okay. I think okay is a really good response, because that's not me saying, okay, and also I agree. That's me saying, I hear and understand what you're saying. That's the end of the sentence. And I think, I don't know, I think that's fine. I hope that's fine. I hope that's fine. There are just some situations where I just do not want to engage in any kind of debate. Not every conversation, and in fact, most of the time I don't want to engage in any kind of debate. I would say almost all of the time I don't want to engage in any kind of debate. And I think there's some, you know, depending on the thing, I can also just say, you know, like, if someone's like, oh man, I really hated this thing for X and Y reason, I can just be like, oh, okay, well, I liked it. I'm sorry you didn't. Or like, that's cool, I liked it. The end. That doesn't need to be a conversation that you have, you know, that doesn't need to be a discussion. It's just what it is. Oh, these window frames. Oh no. See, so these window frames are tiny, and now that I've started doing lines for them, I think this task might end me. Uh-oh. Oh no. What's that Simpsons meme? I know, like, there's so many. What's that Simpsons meme that's like, it's Ralph Wiggum, and he's sitting on the bus, and he's just like laughing, like, I'm in danger. That's how I feel right now about these little windows. Rex says, I liked it too, but we need to debate still because we liked it for different reasons. Oh no! Ralph Wiggum, says Q2s. Ralph Wiggum, I love him. I think he's adorable. He's a sweet, like, he's so stupid, but he's such a sweet little boy. So I'm just like, oh, bless him. He's adorable, but he's also really stupid. I feel that in my, as a stupid person, I feel that in my heart. I think one of my, okay, I have a few favorite Ralph Wiggum moments that stick out in my mind. One of them is the one where, I don't know what's happening in this class, in like Lisa's classroom, but the teacher looks over at Ralph and she's like, Ralph, are you eating paste? And he literally has the applicator from the paste bottle in his mouth. And he's just like, no, Miss Hoover. He's so obviously eating paste. I'm like, oh, bless. It's so good. And the other moment that I really love is they're in a shop and Ralph wanders into, it's like a video store or something, I can't remember. But he wanders into like past the little beaded curtain into the adults only section. You don't see where he's gone. You just hear him go, everybody's hugging. Oh, Ralph, I mean, technically, bless him. He's so sweet. I love him. B says, you are a clever being and not a stupid person. That's very kind of you to say. Thank you. I feel that I have like an advanced amount of intelligence and also I'm really stupid. The two things can coexist. There can be overlap in the Venn diagram. I truly believe that this is so. In fact, I know this is so because I have for many years worked with and indeed been an academic, and the ability for some people who are like just incredibly qualified, incredibly advanced researchers in this, that, and the other to just like not know how to fill out a form. You know? I know how to fill out a form, but also, I'm sometimes just real stupid. Anyways, Q2 says, I enjoy him on screen, but if this was a real person, I'd absolutely flip out dealing with him for more than 0.5 seconds, I think. Oh, 100%. 100%. That would be a terrible time. But yeah, B says, I hear that I'm very intelligent, but I will absolutely fall down by tripping over a shadow. Yep, 100%. If spatial awareness is a type of intelligence, I've got none of that. Oh, biddle boy. Yup. My handwriting is truly, like, abysmally illegible. Illegible. I am illegible. So there's also that. Oh no. Oh. Ugh. This is so absolutely is it even making it look better? I don't know. Illegible, says Q2's. Yes, cannot be. Wait, no. Cannot be edged. Hello, Cranky. Welcome in. Hi, Sammy. You got this. Thank you. I'm so scared. This is the worst part about drawing anything. Any scene that's got, like, a butt ton of windows in it, this is the worst part, is actually having to, like, put a little bit of line weight on the windows. And not wanting to overdo it on the line weight, because, again, we don't want to draw focus away from... These guys are going to be, like, in the weightiest of line weight, because I want them to stand out a little bit amongst all of the other this, that. and the other. But I thought that said ill edible. No, that would be my Hungarian Easter bread that does not look as it should. But yeah, B says, I have decent enough handwriting, but it came at the cost of having my report card say that I'm terrible at penmanship for my whole school career and feeling very insecure about it and panicking a lot, practicing a lot rather. Oh my goodness. That said, my penmanship is just okay. My penmanship used to be legible. It has declined over the last few years to, I would say, a pretty significant degree, really. Let me see if I've got just like, do I just have some rando paper I can write onto? Maybe this. Yeah, let me just, okay. Let me attempt to write you something using the kind of handwriting that I use when I'm taking notes. Like if I'm in like a meeting or something, or like a presentation and I'm trying to take notes on what's happening. I'm trying to think of something that I can say in these notes that would be representative. Okay. How did I do? I feel like, you know what? I actually don't feel like this is fair because I feel like this is very legible. I feel like I gave myself too much time to write this, and actually this is probably pretty legible. But I don't know. Let me. Is this legible? Just out of curiosity. It is to me. Let me. Cranky says, I had that issue on my drawing right now because I had to draw a birdcage at an angle. Ooh, that's tricky. All those bars are giving me guff. Oh, I believe it. For real, this is Bees. When you have to handwrite anything longer than a signature. Rex says, my handwriting's better with a pencil instead of a pen. Don't really know why. Oh, that's really interesting. The blur doesn't help, says Cranky. Yeah, Sammy is a doctor, confirmed. Well, in case you're curious, what this says is hopefully you'll be able to read along with me. The sample size calculation is not sufficient to assess the stated outcome measure. Did we guess that? I don't know. I don't know. It says paracetamol for sure. I've seen my doctor write that. Nope, says Cranky. All right, well, the thing is, I guess I can read that. But again, this is a fairly well-written example of my general just sort of like writing things down handwriting. I'm trying to think if I can give another like example statement that's fairly in line with the kinds of things that I have to write down regularly. Okay. Okay. Again, I think I gave myself too much time. But if you can follow along, this is why are they assessing at only day 30 and day 60, it abbreviated to D30 and D60, when they're... I'm having trouble with what did I write? There may be significant loss to follow up. There we go. Okay, we got there. Cranky says, I trained to write better a decade ago. It really helped. Otherwise, it was illegible too. Plus, if you decide to practice writing sometime, you can always pick a cute style to try to emulate. Listen, growing up, like, all of the girls in my classes had, like, the cute, super cutie, like, the loopy hand. I don't think I could do it now. Sort of like, no, I can't do it. My handwriting is just ugly. Is not cute. That is me attempting to be legible as opposed to just writing normally. I cannot write cute. I've got a naturally spooky style, says Cranky. Shaky hands, but I taught myself to be bubblier. I could never be bubbly, and I swear there's like a gendered component to this. There probably isn't. But then again, I don't know. My sense of gender is very wrapped up in my sense of like, like my neurodivergence. Like, I've said before, and I mean it, this isn't a piss take, my gender is just ADHD. But, yeah, handwriting is never something I've been good at, so there you go. I can read it, says Cranky. Yay! B says, I remember the girls who dotted their eyes with little circles, or the really fancy ones who made hearts. Yes, and their writing was all really, like, like, round. It was rounded and bubbly, and physically, my hand will not make those shapes. And it's weird. It's weird to me that I became, like, a visual artist who does, like, drawing and painting and stuff, and fairly small details, and is fairly good at, like, picking out little details and what have you, and yet, I cannot do pretty handwriting. I can do cursive now. I can do cursive, and I can do, like, stylized lettering that takes me a very long time. Your paintings aren't fluffy, bubbly either. Yeah, I cannot make those shapes. Physically, even if I wanted to, I could not. It does not worm. They are not gender. Cranky says, it's a great style, but I wouldn't immediately nail it as a femme look. Yeah. Thank you. I mean, thank you. Thank you. As a non-beanie, I appreciate that, because I think I would be very surprised if anyone seeing me on the street didn't immediately clock what my gender at birth was, but it's not something that I feel really strong ties to in any way, shape, or form. You know, like, I like what my body looks like, and I like dressing a certain way, and none of that in my brain is in any way related to, like, a gender. I'm so glad that non-binary is a word that we have now, because that feels so much better. I'm so jealous of some artists for that, says Cranky. Like, have you seen... Oh, go away, ad warning. Okay, we're having ads in 3 minutes, but first, have you seen Loish's character designs? I wish I could draw like her. The name is familiar, but I don't think we're not pals. So I have to go look. Who is this? Who is the... Oh, bless! Yeah, their art is really lovely. That's delightful. And you know, I've got her art book. I really like... Okay, I'm gonna have to bring this up on the, like, look at things screen, because, because this wasn't an artist that I knew by name, but yeah, her art's really delightful. So let's have a little look see, because why not? But it is very different to anything that I feel like I could. I think if I applied myself for a really long time to doing it, I could probably approximate something. But, like, on the other hand, why would I want to? Because she's, you know, this is a weird thing about, like, influence as an artist. I kind of look at this and I go, you know, if I applied myself for a really long time, I probably could approximate something similar to this art style. But why would I want to? Because she's already doing it so beautifully. I could just look at her art and do the things that I'm already good at. Or maybe I'm not good at anything. I don't know. But yeah, beautiful. I love all of these ladies that she draws. They're so delightful. I like this one a lot. I like what she's done with the flowers there. I'm sorry it's a very small image, but yeah, anyways, neat artist. Thank you for giving us some nice things to look at. Anyways, yeah, she's an inspiration for more character. Very good character art, for sure. Very, very good character art. Hell yeah. Cranky says, while unless I really focus, my lines come up looking more like a Posaka Demizu. Okay. I take the pieces and apply it to what I want to do, you know? Oh, absolutely. I mean, that's how inspiration works. Over the years, I have drawn inspiration from so many different locations. And I will talk more about inspiration after the break, because you've reminded me of something that I did actually want to go off on today. Because there's been some drama, not in art, but in writing, and I've got some things that I want to say. So I'll circle back to that after the break. Her noses are adorable, says Bees. I love it. I love her style. I think it's gorgeous. I would not dare attempt that style, but I love it. And I love that is the case. I love that, you know, like, different artists have different foci and different skill. I don't know if that's the word, but focuses and different skill sets. And I love seeing what other people are doing, even if I'm just like, I would never do that. I love that you're doing it, and I love looking at it. That's so fun. Anyways, I'll be back really, really soon. I just don't want you to miss anything, so I'm going to put on the BRB screen while ads run. I'm sorry that you have to see ads. I'll see you very shortly, though, BRB. Hell yeah, the ads are done. Hi, everybody. Welcome back. Hello, hello, hello. Anyways, so I wanted to talk a little bit about influences and inspirations as a creator, and how it's normal to take inspiration from other artists, from other sources, from other pieces of media. There is an element of, you know, like, sometimes an influence is direct enough that it's effectively an homage, like an intentional homage, a pastiche, you know, like a loving tribute to the thing. And sometimes influences are a little bit more latent. It's just that, you know, sometimes you see, like, an artist that does a thing in a certain way, and you're like, I want to teach myself how to do that thing because I think it looks really cool. I think it looks like a fun, interesting technique, and you teach yourself to do it. But in so doing, you kind of make it into your own thing, and that evolves over time. I don't know how obvious this is going to be based on just, like, actually looking at my artwork, but I had a weird experience, maybe like a few weeks, maybe a month ago, I don't know, where someone tagged me in a Tumblr post and said, you know, like, at my Tumblr username, is this you? To some artwork by the artist Edward Gorey, which I found really strange and surprising in a number of ways. First of all, I don't think my art looks anything like the art of Edward Gorey. However, I will admit, in no uncertain terms, that when I was like a teen, just finding their own voice as like a young artist, one of my biggest influences was Edward Gorey. And I was like, how did you know? Because I don't think my contemporary artwork looks anything like Edward Gorey's work. Like, at all. So I was absolutely heckin' baffled by that. Let me see if I can pull up. Let's take a look at something that I've painted that is, I think, somewhat representative of my art style. And then let's take a little look at Edward Gorey and see how we feel about that. Because I was just genuinely very like, what? Huh? Oh, okay. And again, I say this as someone who thinks that, like, I love Edward Gorey's work. This is not like a, oh, how dare you. This is like, I'm very flattered, but also what? But also just what? Okay, here is a painting of mine from not super long ago that I painted myself. I hope you like it. Here is a piece by Edward Gorey. Yup. Here are some more pieces by Edward Gorey. I love this one. This is from the picture book that he did that was just an alphabet of children who met untimely ends. Very cheerful stuff. But genuinely, if you're not familiar with the work of Edward Gorey, he is a absolutely fantastic artist. Absolutely ding-dang delightful. And I am, yes indeed, a big ol' fan. Does a lot of this. So I actually used to, like, years ago, I used to do a lot more, like, black and white pen drawings like this with, like, cross-hatching and stuff for textures. And I stopped doing that. I still do a bit as a, as like a sketchbook thing, but I don't usually do it as like completed pieces anymore. And that's largely because just doing all of those little lines with a micron pen just absolutely kills my wrist. It is a recipe for repetitive strain, so I have stopped doing it. I do it maybe like once a month now, because I was finding that like my line work was getting much faster and looser and just like worse. Because it was causing me pain and it was harder to be precise because I was like struggling to just like do it. Did you ever read The Stinky Cheese Man? I have read The Stinky Cheese Man, but I have incredibly little recollection of it because I was probably about, I don't know, 7. The one with the people and the guy with the umbrella reminds me of your people. That's so interesting, Bees. That's so interesting. Because I don't see it at all at this point. Bees says, I give the Stinky Cheese Man to every new parent in my life. That's awesome. I love it. I love that so much. But yeah, so that was like an early influence on my art, but something that I think my actual art style has, is pretty far away from at this point. But I guess if you squint, you can probably draw a line there, and I thought that was really interesting. But the reason that I bring this up is that I think it's normal to be influenced by other works. It's normal to sometimes throw a little homage to things you like into your work as like an Easter egg. I have like if you're pitching, say, like if I'm pitching a novel to a publisher, if I was pitching a TV show to a producer or whatever, oftentimes the language that you use for that is to compare it to something that they're familiar with. To say, like, oh, imagine if Law and Order was a Western, or just pitch it at them instead, says Cranky. Or like imagine if The Third Man was a gay romantic comedy. Like that's that kind of thing. And yeah, like I've got a character name in a piece that I'm working on writing right now that is very much an homage to a character that I really love from another piece of media. But other than that, like the two pieces of like the book does not resemble the source media that character comes from at all. And in fact, the characters are not the same character at all either. But there is enough of a similarity there that I was like, I'm just gonna give him this name because I think that would be really cute and funny. And so I did that as an homage. But the reason that I mention this is that there is a novel that is coming out later this year that has been announced, that I found out about a few days ago on Blue Sky, and it is not even trying to hide the fact that it is fan fiction with the serial numbers filed off. And I say this as someone who like writes original works, has written original works, and also writes fan fiction because it's fun. And sometimes I just have the itch to, see these characters I already like and put them in new situations. That's fun, Usually that involves like, man, these characters go through a lot in the actual canonical show and then like never really deal with the obvious trauma that's going to arise from that. So I'm going to just make them go get therapy and maybe hug each other. And also hold hands and maybe kiss. Anyways, But this novel. This novel goes so far as the image on the cover is, when I saw this, I thought that it was like a made up make believe like novel book cover that someone was using as like, that was like a piece of fan art. You know? No. No, it's the cover of a novel in which the characters on the cover look exactly uh like the characters from the show. And it's just, listen, you know the show Heated, I haven't seen this show, but there's a show out right now called Heated Rivalry that I think has gotten a lot of positive attention, and I'm very happy for it. It's about hockey, which does not hold my interest in any way, shape, or form, but apparently it's a very, very good show. But I also learned the fact that the basis for that show, like the book that formed the basis for this TV show, was in fact originally fan fiction that they spun off into its own original piece with its own original characters and yada yada yada. But originally it was a piece of fan fiction. This is not unusual. However, if you are going to do that, you have to make changes that are sweeping enough that it does not bear a resemblance to the source media that you fan fictioned of. Otherwise, just post it to AO3. Just post it to, just stick it on Tumblr. Just whatever. Like, that's fine. You know? Everybody does that. It's fun. There are quite a few people I'm aware of who are, you know, like published authors who write novels and publish novels and stuff, but also are just like, it's gonna bother me if I don't write this epilogue for these characters from this TV show from the 90s. So here you go. Like that's fine. But literally, so okay. This is just for context. This novel is about two gentlemen who are named Lucas and Sydney, who look exactly, if the cover is anything to go by, look exactly like two characters from a TV show called Our Flag Means Death, which was on HBO a few years ago, named Lucius and Izzy. Just let that sit for a minute. Lucas and Sydney. Lucius and Izzy. And the pen name of the author who is writing this book is Lizzie Spriggs. Spriggs is the surname of one of the canon characters from Our Flag Means Death. And I just, you know, I feel like you're just asking for a cease and desist. I feel like at this point, this author is out there on their, like, please don't go harass this author. Please don't go contacting this author. If you know who this is, please do not go bother them. I think this is an interesting case to talk about. I do not think this is grounds to go, like, actually harass this person. I do think they should know better. But, it is, everything about what they've done is so obviously, I have Control F'd the names of characters from a piece of fan fiction and I'm publishing it as a novel. But not just that. They are literally telling people on their social media that this novel is inspired by this TV show. And I'm just like, no! You can't do that! Apparently they do have an agent as, like, an author of original work, and their agent passed on this. And I'm like, yeah, your agent passed on this because they knew that this is a legal minefield. And there's no reason you couldn't just change the appearances of the characters, change their names to, like, I don't know, Kevin and John, and you have a completely new book. But no, you are explicitly marketing it on the fact that it's based on someone else's IP. Just post it to, if you gotta do that, just publish your fanfiction. Just publish your fanfiction like the rest of us. I just think it's, I just think people are becoming a little too comfortable, maybe, with, like, boundaries in terms of, like, why there are legalities of certain things, and why we do certain things when we do decide that, you know, this sprawling fantasy epic that was inspired by, I don't know, TV's Friends has kind of spiraled into its own thing, and I'm just going to spin it off into its own series of novels about completely original characters. You can do that. Lots of people have done that. Is it always good? No. I'm reminded of, there were some novels about theoretical physicists, where apparently just the science is really bad, but also the romance is really bad, but also it's really obviously Star Wars fan fiction. But at least the author did not advertise it as, hey, this is Star Wars fan fiction I've repackaged into a novel. Don't do that. You know? Did the main character say bazinga a lot? Yeah, that's kind of a dead giveaway. Anyways. Also, hi Katie, welcome in. We're just talking about when not to publish your fan fiction as an original novel. Cranky says, oh no, you can't be doing that and publishing it like that. You can't! Know your boundaries! Yes, exactly, yes. There was a piece that I wrote a few years ago that was a fan fiction that I wrote for fun in my spare time. And my moderator / spouse says that I should file the serial numbers off of it and just publish it as a novel. And I am sorely tempted to do so. And the reason that I'm sorely tempted to do so is that the two characters that come out of any existent source media in this piece are from two different pieces. They're from two different films that are not set in the same universe. They don't canonically know each other, and they're also both such minor and, like, barely drawn characters in canon that I basically had to create new characters. And so I'm like, you know, there is a fair point to be made there that if I just changed their names and a few other little, very minor details, it is honestly just a novel. So I could do that. I haven't done that because I still feel a little bit funny about it. But also, there's no reason I couldn't do that at that point. But that's very different to, you know, barely changing a character's name, using their canonical appearance, and also telling people that your novel is inspired by, you know, like, Seinfeld or whatever. Very different. And, like, don't do that. If you're posting on a fanfic site, that's one thing, says Katie. Yeah, that's what it's for. And, you know, like, for instance, I know AO3 have, like, very specific rules in place about, like, anything that you share here cannot have commercial purposes. It has to be 100% non-commercial, otherwise you could conceivably be getting the site into legal trouble, let alone yourself, right? As soon as money changes hands on, like, a novel that is someone else's IP... you are potentially getting into hot water. I know that, like, you know, back in the day, like, Anne Rice was extremely litigious of anyone who published fan fiction about her work, and some determinations were made that, you know, actually if they're not making money off of it and it's clear that it is like a derivative work, then that's fine, because they're just doing it, you know, for fun. But we don't really want, like, don't do that. Don't do that. I just thought that it was an interesting case. And I also think that, like, it is fine to be, you know, and again, if you just want to write a novel, and your novel has inspirations in it from other media that you've experienced in your life, that's just called being a person who exists in the world. No piece of media exists in a vacuum. Star Wars was inspired by other older works, you know? Like, those other older works, like the, you know, sort of like serialized films of sort of the early to mid 20th century were inspired by previous works. That's how these things work. How many mystery novels are being published today that were inspired by Agatha Christie? That's fine. but there's a difference between that and being like, you know, I've written this I've written this fan fiction. I'm going to give the characters names that rhyme with their characters' names and call it a novel, and then try and publish it for money and think that I'm not just being really silly. Katie says, I'd ask someone who knows more publishing legalese in regards to the whole minor characters from two different published work things. Oh yeah, like I'm not if I did decide that actually this has the legs to be like just a novel, I would be making very significant changes to everything about it. And even then, I feel a little bit uncomfortable because I know what its origins are. Like, even if it's so heavily edited that, like, the characters are completely different people, I know where this came from. I don't know how I feel about doing that. Anyways, Cranky says, it seems so odd, too, to love a work but simultaneously disrespect the people who made it by profiting off them. It's like, it's exactly like with art, like you were saying. Like, you take inspiration and transform it. Yes, exactly, yes. It is... It is rough. Anyways, but yeah, the moral of the story is, don't do that. Just don't do that. Anyways, my face hurts now. I think I've been too chatty. Is that weird? I don't know. Anywho. These windows are tough. Oh yeah, I posted this speaking of other media that one is influenced by. I made a post on Blue Sky where it was just like, Happy Autism Month, everyone. For some reason this month I really feel like just drawing and painting a bunch of very specific Star Trek characters for no reason. But I probably will be doing that, so, you know. Anyways, but, yeah. Ow. I've genuinely harmed my face. What did I do? I don't know. That's really weird. But anyways. I'm still so nervous about my Easter bread, y'all. What to do? I don't know. I hope it'll be okay. I used to every Easter I would post like a photo of my Easter bread on my Instagram, and now I'm just like, don't look at me, I'm hideous. About my Easter bread, not my face. My face is fine. But yes. Anyways. Okie dokie. We are making some headway, hopefully. I do actually think this looks alright. I mean, it's messy, but it's me, so what do you expect? But I think if I just look at that, I think that looks alright. We're making some progress. But yeah, thank you for coming to my TED Talk about why not to do what that author did, but also please, please, please don't go seeking out that author and, like, bother them. I'm sure they will be getting some bother through, official channels eventually. And I feel for them. But really. Anywho. Clap. Okay. Doot doot doot. Doot doot doot. Alright, I'm sure I had more things to say, but they've completely fled my mind. How's everybody doing? Is anyone so here in the United Kingdom, this weekend coming is a long weekend. I will be streaming on Friday morning as usual. I don't know whether or not I'm streaming on Monday. I will check in with my moderator / spouse and see whether or not we have plans. But yes, I did bake bread, and I am planning also to do little like I don't know if this is like an Easter treat in a lot of places. But I also like making little birds' nests with like cornflakes and covering the cornflakes in chocolate and forming them into a shape of a little bird's nest and putting little mini eggs in them. I might be doing some that are Rice Krispie square as well, because I have some marshmallows that that are gonna go out of date if I don't eat them. But I don't really. They're not marshmallows that I personally like eating just like out of hand. So I think I'll make Rice Krispie square with them and put little mini eggs on it, and it'll be super cute. And I think that'll be nice. That sounds hella yummy, says Cranky. Yeah, it's so easy, but they're so stinking cute. And I do like it as a little like chocolatey or marshmallowy treat because the cereal is so bland that it balances out the sweetness of the chocolate or the marshmallow really, really well. And I'm a boring old person who finds a lot of treats too sweet these days. We usually have giant chocolate eggs here. But they're too... Oh my god, they're so expensive, Cranky. They're so expensive. Hold on. Now, they're all on sale now because when I was in the supermarket yesterday, I think it was, they were all like on special for like discounted because I think they're just trying to get rid of them. But let me just pull up my supermarket app thing. Yeah, Gold Bunny chocolate egg from Lindor, £8.50, and they're like, it's hollow. It tells you that's 115 grams of chocolate. You know, I could also just go to like the supermarket regular shelf and get like the same amount of chocolate that's £8.50 here for like £2. It's compare it to the price of a bar, damn it, says Cranky. Like, I know there's something like special and fun about getting like a big chocolate egg when you're a youngin', but like, good lord. They're so expensive. The cream egg chocolate Easter egg, 190 grams, costs £5.50. And that's one of the cheap ones. Like, the Lindor dark chocolate egg with 70% cocoa truffles, 15 quid. $15 for 260 grams of chocolate. Are you kidding? You are paying for the molding and packaging at that rate, says Katie. You really are. That is just shocking, honestly. That's horrendous. I mean, did I buy a bag of mini eggs? Yes. Did I? Actually, I bought 2 bags of mini eggs and donated one to the food bank. Because treats are too expensive, and if you need to food bank food, you probably can't also afford chocolate eggs. So, someone's getting a little Easter treat from me. You're welcome. But that was a bag of mini eggs and not one of the 15-pound milk chocolate Easter egg with salted caramel filling that costs £15. No, which is... Oof. Okay, I'm looking at one here, says Cranky, that's 255 grams for 210 in Brazilian, which is nearly 40 USD. Jesus, Murph, that's like 30 quid. That's so 132 grams for $20. Lord, that's just bad. And Katie says that's very kind, donating chocolate to the food bank. I do try and I always pick up something when I go grocery shopping to make a donation to the food bank. I don't have a lot of extra money, but thankfully I can afford to buy groceries. And so when I do my little grocery rounds, I always try and find something, either something that I think is really useful, like period pads or that kind of thing, or just something that I think is nice, you know, like a lot of, you know, when you're on a very tight budget, you're not necessarily thinking, oh geez, am I going to be able to afford like adding some sun-dried tomatoes to my extremely basic spag bowl? Probably not. So have some sun-dried tomatoes to add to your extremely basic spag bowl and make it a little bit fancy. I just think that's nice. So I like buying nice things for the food bank when I can. 'Cause not being able to afford food sucks. And if I can spend a little bit of extra money and help out, I'm gonna do that. Because not being able to afford food sucks. I've been in situations where where I was just like actively losing money all the time and had no income. And it's really scary and it sucks. So, you know, if one can ease that by like, hey, here's a nice ingredient for you to cook with, I'm gonna do it. Anyways. Cranky says, making something yummy myself is a great idea. I'll do my own damn eggs. Yeah, DIY eggs are the way. That's delightful. She communist. They earned that not having food. No, they didn't. Cranky says, I'm joking. I was homeless when I was 20. I get it. Yeah. Everyone deserves to have a nice meal. Everyone deserves to have a nice meal. Except maybe the people who actively do have too much money, and any attempt that a government makes to like apply a little extra tax, which they wouldn't even notice. They would not even notice. It would not even affect their lifestyle. Anytime a government attempts to apply an extra little bit of tax to the people who already have far, far too much money, oh, would you look at that? They go and just like lobby super hard to help fund the elections of people who do not want to tax them a little extra. Those people deserve nice meals the least of anyone in the world. Everyone else deserves, you know, like a cake mix or something. I've donated cake mixes to the food bank before because I'm like, damn it, what if it's a kid's birthday? What if it's a kid's birthday? You know? Cake mix is shelf stable. Give it to a kid when it's their birthday so their parent can make them a cake. I can't solve late stage capitalism. I can't do much. I do not have very much in the way of spare income. I am genuinely scared that if for some reason my income decreases, if I'm not able to do as much work as I can do right now, that I might find myself in a very precarious position very quickly. And that keeps me up at night sometimes. But that does not preclude me from being able to buy a boxed cake mix at the grocery store and putting in the food bank thing every once in a while in the hopes that someone gets to have a birthday cake. I'm getting emotional about this because I care about people, damn it. Anyways, and Cranky says, I can't imagine, anyone who has actually experienced food scarcity would behave the way some of our politicians behave when they cut food ban. It's just crazy to me. It's very much a case of like, oh, you know, I could live off of it. And in fact, I'm pretty sure there was in this country at some point, this is going back years, but some politicians saying that like, oh, they could easily live off of like X paltry amount of money that they give out in benefits. And it's like, okay, make an attempt then. And they're like, well, you know, blah, blah, blah. Just like, just go F yourself, dude. Anyways, just the complete lack of empathy. And this idea that, like, you see a lot of people in very privileged positions absolutely blind to how privileged they are. You know, you see people who benefit from nepotism in terms of getting the executive job that they have, saying that they worked really hard to get where they are. And it's like, yeah, you definitely did a really good job being born. Like, anyways. Cranky says, oh god, I had to listen to the saddest thing in the world when an older disabled woman was literally starving in the US because they cut her benefits, had lost a lot of weight over months and couldn't afford to. Jeez. Just makes me so mad. Anyways, this is a cozy stream. I'm really sorry, but anyways, Katie says, I read somewhere that some U.S. food banks would rather get basic donations because they're concerned about patrons not knowing to do with, say, super fancy vegetables versus basic carrots. I mean, to a certain extent, there are people at every strata who do not know how to cook. Like, that is for sure. However, I think that just because you're experiencing food insecurity doesn't mean that you don't still enjoy like new ingredients. And I've heard this from people who have I've heard this also from people who've worked at food banks, saying that, like, you know, you can think beyond like a packet of spaghetti or like a tin of beans. You know, people like different like sauces and condiments and spices and that kind of thing are very welcome a lot of the time as well. But yeah, anyways. Hello, my darling Sledge Callier, my beautiful moderator slash spouse is here. And if you still not finished this yet, listen, I'm getting there. I'm getting there. I'm working on it. We're gonna get it done today. And if we don't get it done today, I'll get it done off stream tomorrow. Don't worry about it. Anyways. But yeah, Cranky says, I'm in a very precarious situation too, doing contract work. I haven't made enough money for my own bills all year. Ah, the austerity pricks. Indeed, indeed. Back to Cozy. This didn't include box cake mix. The article meant more like heirloom strains of tomatoes and carrots. Oh, man. I mean, generally I donate shelf-stable stuff anyways, because I assume that it's going into a box, and I don't know how frequently they pick up the donations from that box, so I think they want you to donate things that are like, you know, that have a shelf life of several months. So that's usually what I do, is just like, here, have a thing of 3-bean chili. That's one that we like to do, is they have these like, there's this brand that does like beans and like grains and stuff, and they have things like smoky 3-bean chili, and all you need to do is like heat it. You could technically eat it straight out of the package, but all you need to do is heat it up, and it is absolutely delightful. So like that's the kind of thing that I donate quite a lot as well. It's just like, or like a lentil curry or something like that. It doesn't require a lot of effort, but it's a little bit more interesting than tinned spaghetti. So, beans and brains, says Cranky. Oh, that did not go where I thought it was going to. I'll stick with beans, thank you. I love beans. Beans are one of my favorite ingredients. Now that I've said that out loud, I kind of want to, oh man, I want to make beans. Beans and grains. Grains, not brains. Beans and like barley and quinoa and rice. Like, grains is in rice. They do rice. Anyways. Oh no, not brains. There is a brand here called Mr. Brains, and oh, grains, that was my lunch. I love a curry. Me too. I want to make a bean curry now. I want to make a bean curry. I want to make a bean salad. But there's a brand here. I think there's still a going concern called Mr. Brains. And Mr. Brains sell a specific type of pork meatball that is, I think its popularity has waned over the last few decades, but it is still a pork meatball that is available in supermarkets here. And I'm sure people, you know, you'll find it probably on like a very artisanal pub menu, or, probably homemade, by some folks. 'Cause it's a very traditional meal, or a traditional like meat dish. But you'll notice I haven't named the pork meatball. And the reason for that is that unless you are reclaiming it for yourself, it is also a homophobic slur. Less so in this country, I think, than in North America, but you might be able to guess. Anyways, Pigeon, hello, welcome in. I know this pork meatball you speak of in its problematic name. Yes, this pork meatball has a very problematic name, and the most prominent brand that sells them in this country is Mr. Brains, which I think is just delightful. There was a fellow, a fellow who was a doctor in the same building as my father's GP many years ago, who was a Dr. Brain, and I'm just like, that is so good. Genuinely, if my surname was Brain, I would want to do something with that. I would have gone and gotten my MD, you know? I would have become a GP or something if I was Dr. Brain. Come on, that's so good. That's so good. Wait, what is the slur, says Medusa? It is the name of a specific type of pork meatball that is historically a popular meal here in the United Kingdom. As I say, I don't think it's nearly as popular these days. But, oh, says Katie, yeah. There is a reason I'm not saying it out loud. Ah. Like, even as a queer person, I don't know if it's my place to say the name of this meatball. Also, I don't want to get in trouble with the TOS. I mean, in this case, it is just the name of the meatball. But, yeah, anyways. And obviously, y'all know me well as not someone who is a slur sayer. Though I do remember there was some discourse a few years ago, especially amongst younger sort of LGBT folk, being like, "Don't use the word queer; it's a slur." And it's like, no, that's been very reclaimed. It's fine. Also, you know, if you don't want to apply that word to yourself, that's totally okay. But you really shouldn't tell other people not to apply it to themselves. That's a problem. Anyways, turns out that a lot of that, the fires of that rhetoric were very much being stoked by TERFs anyways, who I think disliked how inclusive as a term it was. Which, well, get in the bin, frankly. I had no idea that was a term for meatballs in the UK. Yeah, very much so. I think there's a different, you know, obviously... there are many countries in the world for whom English is a commonly spoken language, or indeed an official language. But the histories and the evolution of the Englishes in different countries have developed in very, very different ways. And so there are things that get used differently and have different uses and whose uses have developed in different ways. There are things that are, you know, like very much not acceptable terms in one country that are fine in others, you know. I love just as soon as they hear TERFs, everyone is like, ew, yeah, no. Please don't hang out here if you're a TERF. I don't know how to tactfully say this, but no, don't you do that. You suck. Also, a couple days ago was Trans Day of Visibility. I made a little animation. Do you want to see? Let me see. I want to see if I can show you what I made. It's based on a painting I did a while back. But I have transformed it into a little animation. Hopefully this will show, cuz I was really happy with the way it turned out. Ta-da! I just wanted to do a nice chill little time. Anyway, I hope you like the trans bee. And yeah, that's a thing that I did. Anyways. I think you don't need to be tactful to them. You know what? I think you're right. I think that's true. But I hope you like the trans bee, because I'm very proud of that stupid little animation. My animation skills are not great, but I'm trying my best. Oh, oh no, this paintbrush is too juicy. Ah, this brush is too juicy. Whatever shall I do? Bloop. That. Okay. It's fine. Alright. That left a little fiber on the page, but that's okay. Anyways, yeah. So one of the things I'm really grateful for the PNG Tuber software that I use is it makes the animations super easy. I did spend a while meticulously moving the bee sort of a small amount across the thing, like I think I ended up doing like 25 like frames for that animation, so it was a lot of, okay, I just need to move a little bit this way and a little bit this way, and then a little bit this way, and then a little bit, and we got there. And I don't think it looks too janky. What software do you use for animating? This was done in, okay, so again, jank. I I did the frames sort of like I did the frames like individually in Photoshop, and then I took my JPEGs and I plugged my JPEGs into DaVinci Resolve, and then made them all the same length, like the same number of frames, until the animation sort of went at the speed that I wanted it to, and then I just rendered it out. I don't think that's how you're supposed to do it. But again, my setup is jank as heck. And, whatever, it works for me. It works for me, okay? Is it the right way to do it? Probably not. Is it a good way to do it? Also probably not. Does it work? Just about. So that's generally how I animate stuff. If I'm making an animation into a GIF, I will often just use like online/gifmaker/.com, and just plug all of my frames into that. So yeah, so that's that. Medusa says, "Hey, if it works, it works. Getting the result you want is what matters." Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So it's fine. And I'm never going to be like a super accomplished animator, partially because I'm working traditionally, and the idea of having to draw the same thing a bunch of times, accurately, woof. I'm like, when I was younger, I tabled the idea of doing like comics, and I've basically abandoned the idea of comics, and part of the reason that I've abandoned the idea of doing comics is simply the pressure that comes with drawing the same character the same way multiple times over and over and over again over like a protracted period of time. It's like, I don't look at two drawings that I've done of the same character and expect them to have exactly the same proportions. It's like, oh, well, you know, you can tell it's the same guy, but like their face shape is a little different and their height is not consistent. You know, and I can get away with that with individual illustrations more so than I could if I was doing a comic. Like, I don't know, is like, this is jank as heck. I feel like their proportions are kind of off, but I don't really want to redraw it. I might end up redrawing some of it, to be honest, because I think I've made their top half a little bit too big compared to their legs. So I might smallin down their top half a little bit as well, because they're not quite that top heavy. But woof. Anyways, Medusa says, I need to make a very simple animation. I've been being like, what is the freest way I can do this, lol? Well, I can tell you right now that there are image editors that you can use online that are free, and DaVinci Resolve is a video editing software that is also free. The light table helps, says Cranky, but traditional animation is a lot of work. Still, yeah. It really is. It really is. And yeah, having a light table so you can, you know, like, do the that's, for sure, but just like the stack of sheets that you'd need to do anything is just, I use Blender Grease Pencil, that's free. Krita has animation too, that's free. Yep, good stuff. I don't know how to do digital art at all. My brain is not wired for digital. So I just do not do. I just do not do. And that, like this, like my PNG tuber, for instance. For my PNG tuber here, I drew like obviously the base shape, which was me with my eyes open and my mouth closed. So like this, like that. And then separately, I just drew, you know, sort of going off of like the curvature of my face here, a little open mouth and a little closed eye that I could just slot onto, you know, sort of an additional layer. In this case, clone out my opened eye on the base layer. So you can just see me blinking when I'm blinking. And then, you know, saved those all as separate JPEGs and loaded them up onto ViatoTuber, and that's how I did it. Actually, no, not JPEGs. I did save them as PNGs because I needed to have a transparent background for that. But, yes. Cranky says, my digital art looks like an entirely different art than my traditional. Yeah, that's fair. I mean, they are very different media in many ways, so it's understandable, I think, that may be the case. My digital art is basically, every attempt that I've made to do digital art has been so cumbersome that I simply haven't really invested the time or effort needed to get better at it at this point. I could certainly, I think if I really wanted to devote myself to learning how to do digital, I could definitely improve at it. I am 100% sure. But it's just not been a priority for me because I enjoy working in this way. And also, it is a not insignificant outlay of money for me to get, sort of to have a tablet of my own and a bunch of, like, peripheral stuff to go with that, only to find, after, like, months of practicing and basically having to learn how to do art from the ground up, that I honestly just don't enjoy it as much. There is something, and I know that for me there really is something about, like, the tangibility of traditional work that I really value for myself in terms of how I like to work. It just feels nice to me to do. And I know there are things that you can get and there are things that you can do that kind of emulate that more so in digital, but it just hasn't really been a priority for me to, like, explore that because I'm having a nice enough time with my paints. So like, why should I? I can do what I want, and what I want to do is traditional artwork, and that's fine. But yeah. Okay. I feel like we're making some headway here. I do. So that's a good. I'm gonna just where this windowy gubbins meets the pavement. Okay, wizard. I'll move on to the windows for this bad boy over here. This, in case you missed it, is actually based on a place that I have been in Copenhagen in Denmark, and I just thought was a really cute spot, and I happened to get a really good photo of it, so I decided to insert some little guys into there, and it became this. Wow, my face, why does my face hurt so bad? I don't know. Anyways. I had some dental work done a little while ago, and confession time, the tooth is still giving me trouble. Do I know that I really ought to just go back to the dentist and be like, hey, I had some dental work here done a little while ago, and the tooth is still bothersome. And they'll be like, oh, geez, we're sorry to hear that. Let's fix it. Yes, I should do that, but am I just nervous and uncomfortable about it? Because it was such an ordeal, and it took months, and the end result remains that, like, oh, I'm still uncomfortable after all that. Welp. Great. So, I don't know, I guess, like my tooth, my trust is somewhat eroded in the dental industry. Being able to just actually fix my face. So yeah, yay. Yay me, love that for me. Good times. Anyways, I'm making salad for dinner in case anyone's curious. It is going to have some potatoes, and it was going to have dill, but there was no dill at the supermarket, so all I have is chives, and I'm very sad about this, because I was really looking forward to adding some dill to my salad with potatoes and other vegetables. Other vegetables are available, such as some lettuce and peppers, some cucumber, and a nice vinegary dressing with chives. I think it's going to be quite pleasant. So, yeah, looking forward to that. Anyways. Oh, shoot. Looks like ads are going to run in a few minutes. Well, let me see if I can get these windows done before we go to ads. And then maybe we'll get this done today. We're not going to be able to start the goblin. But at least you're aware of the fact that the goblin exists. Because I sketched the goblin earlier, which is really good. Because I think I mentioned it on Monday a few times that I'm in the midst of a bit of an art block. And I'm trying to break through it. But it's kind of like one of those things that, you know, when you're hungry and like no specific food appeals to you. It's just like, I'm hungry. Okay, well, we have spaghetti. And you're like, no, that doesn't appeal. Okay, well, we have cornflakes. No, that doesn't appeal either. Okay, well, we have aloo gobi. No, that doesn't appeal either. We have marshmallow tea cakes. No. Yeah, like one of those things where it's just like, I'm hungry for something specific, but none of these specific things, and I also don't know what specific thing I am hungry for. It's like that, but with art. Which is a really frustrating feeling when you stream art twice a week and you also like making art. It's a bit of a challenge, but here we are. Yay. Trying my best. Anyways, good luck with the animation, by the way. I'm sure you will figure it out and it'll be amazing. I am, as you can tell, by no means an expert, but I make do in very tiny, silly ways. I mean, any local asparagus left for your salad? I do have asparagus. Katie, but I'm saving it for tomorrow night. But we do still have local asparagus, and I'm very happy about that fact. It is the thing is, there's local asparagus in the shops, and then there's also like non-local asparagus that's cheaper. If I want to buy the asparagus that has come all the way to the United Kingdom from Mexico, it is like at least £1 less expensive than the British asparagus, but I just cannot. I cannot bring myself to not buy the local asparagus when it's available. I gotta take advantage of the local asparagus when it's available. But also, in addition to this, I really don't like buying things that are imported from very, very far away when they are available locally. Because, you know, like carbon footprint, etc., etc. Yeah, you presented me with an opportunity for a pun, but I'd have to explain Portuguese first, and the verb to wait is so to say you wait, you say espera. Espera, Gus. Thank you very much for that. Thank you. Wait a minute. And we do indeed have to wait for asparagus, because it's not available most of the year. I'm going to pop on the BRB screen, because we are about to go to You're Waiting to Eat Your Asparagus. Oh my god, it's true. It's true. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for the pun. I appreciate it. It's BRB time. I'm sorry if you have to see ads, but you ain't going to miss anything. BRB, everybody. Well, hopefully ads are done. I'm sorry that you had to see ads, but we're back. Hopefully you didn't. Sometimes they just don't show ads, and I love when that happens. That's my favorite. Anyways, I don't know if I really want to put that much additional detail into what's happening in the window displays. I think that can just kind of be vague and unline weighted, because it's through a window. It's not going to be as detailed. You know, the lighting is weird. Katie says, somehow the asparagus that has traveled across an ocean is cheaper than the asparagus that came a few kilometers. The math doesn't math. It's not mathing. It's not mathing, Katie. You're so right. Like, that's why it's a big deal for me when the asparagus is actually available that's grown on the same landmass that I'm on. Because it is, you know, a fairly small season. So gotta take advantage of the Spargel site. You've got to. Because it's the Spargel site. Anyways, that's German for asparagus time. Cranky says, I have a very important question. I will judge you how you answer. Green or white asparagus? Green in this country. And green is also what I grew up with. Okay, good, says Cranky. Are you not a fan of the white asparagus? Interesting. You've answered correctly. I just, I don't know. I feel like there's nutrients in greenness. I don't have time to get into all the reasons why. That's totally fair. Yeah, it's rare that you even see white asparagus here. And I would not choose it, given the choice between the two. Really, the only time that I see white asparagus is, like, when it's been preserved, like, in the antipasti section of the supermarket. Sometimes they'll have, like, jars of, like, preserved, like, pickled white asparagus spears, and I'm like, yeah. Green in plants equals chlorophyll, and also delicious. I love asparagus. I don't like what it does to my pee, but I do love asparagus. Anyways, apologies for that, but it does, I don't know what it is in asparagus that has an unpleasant impact on going for a wee, but it really does. Not pleasant. Anyways, but it's worth it. It's worth it. I'm sorry. Is that too much information? Maybe it is, but, anywho, okay. I think I've done all of the little window framey bits. I wanted to do something with the pavements are looking kind of nothing. The white ones are grown in the dark, poor plant, says Cranky. Yeah, it's mean. They never get to see the sun. That feels sad to me somehow. Like, look at these. Here's some photos that I took of some plants recently. I'm just gonna crop this upwards so that I don't dox myself. But here's a picture of some plants that I took recently. Oh wow. The camera is not registering this color correctly because it's much more of a purpley blue in real life. But anyways, these are some bluebells. And they're so happy being exposed to sunlight. I love that for them. Here are some funky little tulips. Delightful. I like to, when I encounter interesting and novel flowers on my walks, I like to take photos of them. Because my mummy really loves flowers, and I like getting to show her the flowers that kind of grow natively and are being grown sort of where I live. Again, this is a much warmer blue than it's showing up here for some reason. It's not picking up the color correctly, but little blue doodads. Anyways, white asparagus. They've got all the asparagus with none of the taste and without the nutrients. Yay! Yeah, no, I am a green asparagus enjoyer myself, personally, but, hey. It's whatever. Oh, the other thing that's been on my mind, there's a brand here in the UK. It turns out that surprise, they're owned by private equity, because, well, private equity does that, but anyways, they've always had this look that feels very, like, cozy, 70s, just fun muesli, right? I mean, it's just muesli and it's fine, and frankly, I think it's kind of overpriced, but this has always been what they look like. It looks like it was designed in the 70s, and I think it's real stinking cute as far as branding goes. Well, they've redone their branding, and I'm like, why would you do this to yourself? Because this is so much more boring. This is so much worse. Like, this is such a bland sans serif and I love a sans serif, okay? But this is such a bland type font compared to this. This has, like, it has visual interest. It has brand recognition because no one else is out there doing it like this beautiful, like, very cozy, comfortable, lowercase font. And also the asymmetry of this little, like, stylized stalk of oats versus this, which is, like, it feels much more sort of austere, and they've taken that, like, oat stalk and made it more symmetrical, and there's just something about the whole design that I just think it's more boring, and it also just doesn't feel as friendly. There's something friendly about that, like, lowercase, sort of slightly stylized serif font. I don't know what they were thinking, but I think it looks so much worse. And I say this as someone who has no vested interest in Dorset cereals as a brand, because personally, there are other granolas that I prefer. Um, my favorite granola is a Japanese granola that it's not fancy, it's not expensive. It's just it's got the crunch and it's got a really good mix of dried fruits in it. It's so good. Anyways, um, but yeah, it's just. Um, also, I genuinely think that their granolas and stuff are too expensive. Um, but it's the corporatization of branding. It's they've turned it into something that looks like it's owned by private equity. You know what I mean? It's just why would you do that? Why would you do that? I don't know. I mean, I know that a lot of brands like to refresh their packaging every few years because there's probably some very good reason, like marketing related reason that I'm just not familiar with because I don't really have experience with this kind of thing, as to why it's a good idea to change your packaging every few years, give it a little tweak, a little refresh. Um, I'm not sure why. It's like, oh, you know the when I was thinking of packaging refresh, I don't know why the thing that came into my head was this, but I know that they have here in the United Kingdom there is a brand of like breaded fish products, like fish fingers and like breaded fish fillets and that kind of thing, made by the Bird's Eye Company, and there is a guy who looks like a fisherman, and his name is Captain Birdseye, and he appears on the packaging. And I think there's something similar in North. There certainly is in Canada as well. Captain Highliner, who's like looks like a grizzled, sort of old sea captain out on his fishing boat catching codfish for you to turn into fish fingers, that kind of thing. And the thing that I've noticed about this fish captain on the packaging for the breaded fish and stuff is that he's gotten like over the years he's gotten progressively more and more dilfy. Like this isn't just me getting older and finding, sort of like finding older people more attractive. They've genuinely made him hotter. I wouldn't go so far as to say that they've yassified him, but he's definitely gotten dilfier. Anyways, I need to mute for just a second. I'm really sorry. Anyways, Cranky says the marketing reason is to keep CMOs in a job. Uh, yeah, I mean, I guess. Um, Refreshing the brand identity is one thing, says Katie. That is stripping all identity and personality out of the branding. Yeah, it just feels a little sad. It just feels a little sad to see that. I don't know. I was not a fan, but hey, you know, they're gonna do what they want to do, ultimately. And I don't personally as a matter of regularity buy that brand anyway. So like I don't care. The packaging design is not going to be what gets me to buy granola. I'm going to buy granola if it ideally contains no nuts, because my moderator slash spouse has a nut allergy, so I try to avoid them. Also, I don't like having a granola and like, stirring some granola into my yogurt and then having a spoonful of granola and not realizing that a there's like a whole almond in there, and then biting into a whole almond and breaking my tooth on the almond because I didn't realize there was going to be an almond. Um that's a thing that I would rather not have happen to me personally. So, yes. Anyways, um, okay, okie dokie. I'm just filling in some little Dory silhouettes there. I will be back in just a second. BRB. Hi. Hello. Hello, hello. Sorry about that. I have returned. Some paint has fallen onto the floor. It is packaged. It's just a box containing paints fell on the floor. Anyways. The nut allergy is sad. Ours will have cashews in them. Oh, I sometimes see cashew nuts here. You should try cashew juice sometimes, made from the fruit, not the nut. Ooh, I would love to. That sounds delightful. That does genuinely sound delightful. I'm sure. Is oh my goodness gracious, sorry about that. Okay, something has got in my throat. I'm gonna take a sip. Very popular in Brazil. Nice. I have not seen it in a UK supermarket, which isn't surprising. We do have, I have a good selection of supermarkets that stock things from countries that are not the UK in my neighborhood. I live in a very cosmopolitan neighborhood. There's a lot of immigrants, and so there's a lot of stores, like shops specializing in ingredients from countries that are not the UK, which I am so grateful for. But yeah, I don't think anywhere else does it, which is wild. Have you ever seen a cashew fruit? That's so much food to just throw out for just one nut. I wonder. I don't know where grows cashews, because certainly cashew nuts do not grow here, which is probably why or at least possibly why the fruit hasn't made it here, but that's really interesting. Okay. I'm gonna do the rooftops, I think, and then, annoyingly, I'm still not going to finish this painting! They're grown here, says Cranky, it's a native plant. Yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense. I mean, thankfully we do have some very nice native plants here in the U of K as well. But, not cashews, more colder weather. We have a lot of apples. We get pumpkins and potatoes and kale and less so some of my other preferred stone fruits like nectarines and peaches don't really grow here, which is I will, when they're in season, I will get them having grown in like other bits of Europe that are further south than us. We do get cherries and plums though as far as stone fruits go, which is really nice. If you ever know someone who has a plum tree and gets a bumper crop of damson plums, and you get a bunch of plums and you get to make jam, oh yeah, that'd be nice. But yes, Kedju is it's a to-be guarani word actually, says Cranky. Like tapioca, nice. And asparagus too. Lots of good tubers in the north. I love a good tuber. My friend the tuber. You are good. Anyways, that's rad as heck. I'm gonna get some more brown paint to try and do some nice subtle line work on this rooftop over here. Hopefully nice and subtle. We'll see how I manage to do it. But yeah, we're probably going to end fairly shortly. I do apologize for that. But thanks for hanging out with me today. It's been very fun. Having spicy opinions and ranting about stuff, as is often the case. But yeah. I hope everyone has a lovely... If I don't see you before, I hope you have a lovely weekend. I will be playing some Silksong tomorrow morning. Looking forward to that. I'm aware of the fact that is the start of the Easter weekend for a lot of people, so I'm not sure how many people are actually going to be around tomorrow morning, but hey, I am, so I'm going to stream. And if it's just me playing Silksong, well, I get to play Silksong by myself for 3 hours, and I play Silksong by myself all the time anyways when I'm not streaming, so, like, that's fine. But yeah, hopefully that'll be a good time. I am probably going to have to finish this painting off stream as well. Probably do that tomorrow. I have some plans germinating in my head for things I want to do for the rest of this month, painting wise. So hopefully I'm able to enact some of that. We'll see. I'll probably be around, says Cranky. Well, it'll be lovely to see you if you are. I am planning to paint the goblin riding the goblin. This up here is eventually good. I obviously haven't finished this sketch. I've got like some vaguely sketched out like seat shapes and a window back here. There's some details that are missing. Obviously, I hope it will be clear that they're like that their legs are dangling because they can't reach the floor because they're little. But this up here is eventually going to be the little map that they have sort of just above the windows on like overground trains. So there's Gospel Oak, there's Barking Riverside, and all of the little stops. I will mark out all the little stops in between, so you can see that it is in fact the Gospel Oak to Barking line, aka the Goblin. This painting is a reference for, I don't know, maybe 12 people. How many of those people exist at an intersection where they care about both trains and little fantasy creatures? I truly don't know. This may be a work exclusively for me. I feel like sometimes the breadth of subjects that I like to paint about occupies enough different niches that I feel like the potential for just like a lack of overlap is large. And I'm aware of this, but listen, I'm not. I gotta do what the heart wants. Okay. Have you seen Demon Slayer? No. Do you think I should? Do you think I should? Let me know. Also, if you're about to reference something from, you might like the Demon Train movie from Demon Slayer if you haven't seen it. I haven't. There's a Demon Train. I mean, that does sound fun. I did like in the video game Final Fantasy VI. There is a ghost train that you have to fight, and one of the things that I love about the game, I think this was originally like kind of a goof, because there is a member of your like party in Final Fantasy VI who has a move where they can suplex the enemy, which, you know, like that makes sense. They're a big strong guy. They do a suplex, right? Cool. But they can do the suplex move when you're fighting the ghost train. So it is like a full-size train engine, and then this tiny little super strong man goes and suplexes the train, and it's as funny as that sounds. I love that game. It's wonderful. Ooh, it's set during a time period where Japan is like modernizing, so trains are ready to... Oh, that sounds fun. That does sound fun. I like that a lot. I think the window frames are doing okay. I think this is doing okay. It doesn't look like a lot of progress, but it's a lot of tiny fiddly stuff, okay? That's the difference. It's all tiny fiddly stuff that we're having to do right now. And that stuff, annoyingly, takes time and doesn't look like you're doing much. So... the struggle is real and true. Truly it is. But never mind. Anyways, I'm gonna pick up a little bit. I'm picking up a little bit from this palette, because while I'm here, before I wrap for the day, I think I am gonna just pop a little bit of definition. Ah, that's a little too... Is that a little too bold? I'm not sure. I might just water it down a smidge for the next one along. Thus, that's even worse. But if I give it a little blot, then it's not so bad. Okay, yippee. Great. Good job. Anyways. Just getting a little definition onto the window boxes as well, just so the windows are fully done. And then I think there's not too much that I need to finish, but there's enough that it's going to take me too long to do tonight. So I think I'm going to call it there. And it's not 1,000 million billion episodes. Says Cranky, it's genuinely a very good show. Hits me right in the feels. Has some violence, but the art is beautiful. They did a lot with hybrid 2D and 3D animation. Ooh, very cool. I have heard of it before. I'm just really behind on all media, if I'm being honest. The whole series is finished now. They released the last movie last year. That sounds delightful. And it sounds less intimidating than some things that I've considered getting into, but have like a gazillion episodes, and I'm like, it sounds like homework. I can't do it. Demand avoidance. Sometimes I demand avoidance myself out of things that I would genuinely enjoy. It's a problem. Anyways, my head hurts. It feels like my head is being squeezed in a vice. So I'm gonna go cook dinner. And I'm gonna say good night for tonight. I'm gonna see if there's anyone we can do. Well, I'm on my third watch through of One Piece. How? Like, you don't have to answer that. I'm very impressed. Good job. Anyways, let's see who's online, who we've maybe not done a raid on in a little while. Okie dokie. I think I know where we'll go. We'll go someplace nice. We'll go someplace where it's a soft place to land. And I'm sure you'll have a lovely time with them. So, happy April, everyone. I hope your April be's good so far. I will pop a generic raid message in the chat if I can. Also, wow, okay, now my wrist has started to hurt. I think I just need to go get some rest, because apparently my whole body is just falling to pieces. I didn't get as much rest today as I'd hoped that I would, because today was a day off, but I was baking bread, so I had to get up to start the dough and all that jazz. So, anyways, thank you for hanging out with me today. I've had a lovely time, but we're going to go see a band. If you like cool people but do cool art, and he is genuinely a really fun person to hang out with, a gazillion out of 10 do recommend. So we'll go say hi. Thank you all so much for hanging out with me today. I've had a really nice time hanging with you, and I hope to see you again soon. Have a good rest of your Thursday. Have a good weekend if I don't see you before then. And yeah, enjoy yourself. Have a good one. Take care, everyone. Good night, and good luck.